Hi, I'm John Maxwell. When the top companies in the world are looking for trainers, speakers, and coaches, there's one name that stands above the rest, and that's Maxwell Leadership. Our certified team members have gotten proven results for companies all over the globe, and our reputation, I'm proud to say, is second to none. Some of our members have risen to the top of their profession, including the one you're going to meet today. I proudly introduce you to my friend Bob Fabian Zinka.
Welcome to the Leadership and Success Podcast with your host, Coach BZ. If you need to develop into a better leader, this podcast is for you. If you want to achieve a greater level of success, this podcast is for you. His mentor, Dr. John C. Maxwell, said it best: everything rises and falls on leadership. We hope to inspire you today and provide you with an insight that has the potential to positively impact the trajectory of your life. Welcome to the Leadership and Success Podcast.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Today, this is season 4, episode 6, and we're going to be talking about the unfair advantage of reading. Yesterday, I talked about mentorship, and I talked about my leadership board of directors. And today I'm going to go a little bit deeper and mention a few of the books that have literally changed my life. And this is something I really would like for all of you to do, right? Because my primary mentor, Dr. John Maxwell, says that leaders are readers. And that is so true, right? And let me see if I can share my screen over here. So this is based on an article that I wrote. Let me share the screen. You should be able to see this. So if you are in the podcast note, I added a link to the actual article right here. So you can follow along Leadership Mentor Books, The Unfair Advantage of Daily Reading. One thing that my primary mentor, John Maxwell, says again is every day he does 5 things. He reads, he thinks, he asks questions, and he files. Yeah, read, think, ask questions, and files every single day. He does those things, and I believe that is so important for leaders and aspiring leaders to read every single day. And so today, one thing we are also going to cover is so my personal story. I was about 17 years old when I started really studying success and leadership. I've read over 2,000 books by now, and I think there is a compounding effect of reading every single day in whatever field you want to become an expert in. And also, let me go back to my selfie. Okay, and also. The compounding effect is pretty powerful, right? If you only read one chapter or half a chapter today, that doesn't really matter much. But if you do it consistently, day after day after day after day, the compounding effect of that is pretty significant. So as you are reading, you are really offering accelerated wisdom at an incredible low cost, right? A book like this one, this is the primary book, right? I said for the curriculum for the podcast this season, the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. This is a book in my mastermind. We've been reading this book for almost 2.5 years now. This one book. We've gone through this. We meet about every 2 weeks or so, and we've gone through all the chapters of the book, and now we are reading on discussing elements surrounding each one of those chapters. And we've been going through this book for 2.5 years. One one single book. Now, one thing that also happens when you start reading, sometimes you may read very, very fast just to get through the book and not really get deep into it, which is okay. That's why there are certain books that I read every single year. So I go back, for example, this summer, Think and Grow Rich is one of those books. I read that book every single year, just to remind myself, and I always get something in the books that I didn't get, the 20 previous year. So that is pretty cool too. So one of my mentors, Darren Hardy, wrote the book, The Compound Effect. Was about daily discipline that shapes destiny. Let me see. I'm still getting used to the technology here, but I believe you should be able to see a copy of that book at the top right corner. The Compound Effect, definitely a book you guys should read. So, members again of my leadership board of director, Papa John C. Maxwell, is written the book, the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, which is the primary curriculum for this podcast this season. But another book that you wrote just last year, right? Which is I Road Leadership. I highly recommend that one. I also will be talking about General Common book. It worked for me. Very, very powerful leadership book. I already mentioned Darren Hardy, The Compound Effect. And we're also going to talk about Les Brown. You've got to be hungry. Hunger is very, very, very powerful motivator. And then another one of my primary mentor, Brian Tracy, Eat That Frog. This was a #1 bestseller. This will really get you into becoming more and more productive. And another book he wrote about victory, which is pretty cool because he's never served in the military, but he does relate a lot of the military principle for success in that book, which is pretty good. And of course, another one of my mentor, Tony Robbins. And we're talking about Awaken the Giant Within, a classic. And Robin Sharma has really affected me quite a bit. The 5 a.m. club. There's a reason why people who wake up at 5 a.m., me, it's 5:30 a.m. every single day, including weekends. Those who start their day so early, there's a reason why they tend to be a lot more successful than those who get up, let's say, at 8 or 9 o'clock every day. For example, in Silicon Valley, where I live, the culture has been for people to come to the office around 9:30, 10 o'clock, and they tend to stay a little bit late. But I always went to the office around 7 a.m. every single day. So from 7 to about 9:30, I pretty much had the office to myself, and I really got to do a lot of work. I concentrated on my highest priority. And sometimes I feel like by doing this every single day in those few hours, you really get to accomplish a lot more than the average person maybe might accomplish in a couple of days or even a week. So Ken Blanchard, leadership and the 1 Minute Manager, well known for his 1 Minute Manager series. We're going to talk about that. And then the Admiral, the Accidental Admiral. So that's Admiral James Stavridis. He's also written a book which I have right here in my library about division officer. That's one book that really helped me when I was a junior officer in the Navy, kind of make sure I got my things together. And then the final book I will be mentioning today would be the Success Principle. Okay, so with no further ado, like I've said in the AI introduction trailer, I'm going to be using my AI agent to help me with this daily podcast. So I'm going to have Joe AI and Mary AI kind of get you through this. And if you have any question for me, please make sure to type in the comments where you are listening from. And also, if you have any question, let me know. Once Joe AI and Mary AI are done, I will be back talking to you. All right, Joe and Mary, you guys are up next.
Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine having an unfair advantage. Not some, secret piece of tech or an exclusive contact list that only a lucky few get access to.
Right, not the usual suspects.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're talking about something like universally available, sitting right there for anyone yet.
Yeah.
Surprisingly underutilized.
Oh, overlooked.
Something that, according to one seasoned leader we're looking at today, has been absolutely fundamental in shaping how they lead, how they grow, and how they navigate. Well, just the complexities of the world.
That's the core idea we're diving into today, yeah. We have a truly fascinating source guiding us. It's an article penned by someone who has operated at, really high levels in dramatically different high-stakes environments.
Okay.
A seasoned cybersecurity executive and a commander in the U.S. Navy.
Wow, that's quite the combination.
It is. And he makes a very compelling case that a massive part of his ability to succeed, to lead teams through uncertainty and to constantly adapt, it comes down to one specific daily habit.
One habit. Okay, so our mission for this deep dive, we want to peel back the layers on this surprising unfair advantage, right?
Exactly.
We're going to explore where this habit originated for the author, dig into some specific examples from the, literally thousands of books he's immersed himself in over his career. And most importantly, translate all of this into actionable insights so you listening can understand how to take this powerful practice and weave it into your own life. Whether you're leading a huge company, a small startup team, or, simply striving for personal mastery.
And his background gives such a unique lens, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Decades bridging military discipline and that rapid-fire tech innovation. He's seen firsthand what truly distinguishes leaders.
Absolutely.
Right? He's not just, theorizing from some ivory tower. He's applying these lessons learned from all this reading in real-world, high-pressure situations.
Crucible environments, you could say.
Yeah, places where decisions have immediate consequences, whether that's in national security operations or navigating the volatile landscape of enterprise tech.
So his perspective on why this habit isn't just beneficial, but actually crucial, it's really grounded in that hard-won experience.
Very much so.
So let's jump right in and trace this back to its roots, the foundation of this whole idea in the author's personal journey. It seems to start with what he identifies as a core belief, something maybe a bit counterintuitive in fields often defined by tech or strategy.
Absolutely. The author states it very clearly, drawing from that dual-hatted experience, Navy information warfare commander and cybersecurity exec. He says the most significant competitive edge isn't found in having the latest technology.
Okay.
Nor even in mastering specific tactical maneuvers, though obviously those are important.
Sure.
He firmly believes it's rooted in a deep, unwavering, and consistent commitment to continuous personal growth. It's like an internal engine for advantage.
And this wasn't something he realized late in his career, right? The source says this habit started remarkably early.
Yeah, it started super young. He specifies age 17.
17, wow.
And crucially, it wasn't some, mandatory assignment or a job requirement. It stemmed from a really personal drive.
Okay.
A desire to actively uncover the fundamental principles of success for himself, to understand how transformation happens, and specifically to evolve into the kind of leader he aspired to be, what he calls a transformational leader.
So it was an active quest.
Totally, not passive reading. It was a directed quest for the kind of knowledge that fuels growth and enables impact.
And the sheer volume of material he's covered since then. It's pretty staggering.
It truly is. Over the years, this dedicated daily reading practice has led him to explore this immense library. He puts the number at over 2,000 books.
2,000.
Yeah. And it's not confined to one narrow area either. It spans this wide array of subjects vital for leadership and, navigating complexity, business, tech, self-improvement, pure leadership theory, history, psychology, you name it.
That kind of breadth must give such a comprehensive, interconnected perspective.
Exactly. Hard to gain otherwise.
Okay, so if the seed was planted by that personal drive, where did he find the inspiration or maybe the initial framework for thinking about this kind of consistent self-investment? The source mentions a couple of key mentors who influenced him early on.
Yeah, he points to two individuals who really shaped his perspective on this. The first is the renowned personal development expert, Brian Tracy.
Brian Tracy. Big name.
Huge. He specifically cites Tracy's principle. Invest at least 3% of your income in yourself, self-development, in order to guarantee your future.
3%. Okay, on the surface, maybe that sounds small, but how the author applied it early on, That really puts it into perspective.
It absolutely does. He started applying this principle as a sophomore in college.
In college, wow.
Yeah, think about that. Stage financial resources are usually pretty tight, right?
Correct.
He was earning around $6,000 a year back then, yet influenced by Tracy, he made this conscious decision to consistently invest a portion of that into himself.
Even on $6,000 a year.
Even then, he started conservatively, initially just 1%, but quickly ramped that up to 3%, then 5%, and eventually a full 10% of his income specifically towards his professional development.
10%. And that wasn't just buying books, although obviously that was a big part.
Correct. His investment covered books, yeah, but also getting audio programs like, remember, Books on Tape?
Oh, yeah.
Taking online courses, going to leadership and professional development conferences, pursuing IT certifications, the whole package.
And he mentions that even that initial small percentage felt huge at the time.
Oh, definitely. For a college student on $6,000 a year, he notes that initial 1% or 3%, maybe $60 to $180 annually back then, felt really significant. He vividly recalls thinking $600 at that income level might as well have been $1 million given how tight things were.
I can imagine.
But he saw it as necessary, non-negotiable, an investment in his future.
And that simple reminder from Brian Tracy seems to have been the anchor for that mindset.
It was crucial. He mentions that whenever he felt that pinch, spending money on books or courses or questioning the outlay, he'd remind himself of Tracy's principle and recall that simple, powerful phrase, "You are your best investment."
That's a game changer, isn't it?
It really is. It's a fundamental shift in perspective.
Yeah.
It moves self-development costs away from being like expenses or discretionary spending to being viewed as essential capital expenditure. You're allocating it to your most valuable asset, yourself, and your long-term potential.
And as his income grew, that 10% commitment must have become substantial.
Absolutely. It compounded over the years, becoming a really significant annual allocation towards continuous learning and growth.
It's like treating your own development as the most critical R&D project you'll ever manage.
That's a great way to put it.
So who was the other major mentor? You mentioned two. This one provided a different kind of framework.
The second key figure is Dr. John C. Maxwell, another giant in leadership, globally recognized. The author refers to him really warmly as Papa John. So while Brian Tracy gave the principle of investing in yourself, Maxwell provided more of a practical framework for how this daily learning translates into actual impact and influence.
And that comes down to those 5 daily disciplines he talks about.
Precisely. The cornerstone of Maxwell's teaching that the author adopted is the practice of 5 daily disciplines. Every day I read, write, think, ask questions, and file what I learn.
Read, write, think, ask questions, file.
Yep. And the author emphasizes this isn't just some nice theory, it's been the bedrock of his whole career. It provides a concrete, repeatable framework for continuous improvement and, crucially, the adaptability needed in both military and civilian leadership roles.
So reading is the input, the fuel.
Right.
But the other steps are how you process it, synthesize it, make it useful.
Exactly. He explicitly states that every single day, no matter what schedule, location, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter if he's on a ship or in a boardroom.
Right. Ship, war zone, corporate boardroom he engages in, all 5. Reading for the input, writing and thinking to actively process and analyze it, asking questions to challenge assumptions, and really deepen his understanding.
Okay.
And then filing what he learns into his mobile cloud storage so he can easily grab it later for reference and application.
Wow.
He makes the point that this consistent daily practice is the source of most of the insights and knowledge he shares, either publicly or applies internally. It's a complete system.
It really is an integrated system, not just acquiring information, but internalizing it, connecting dots, and getting it ready for action.
Yeah, it turns passive reading into active learning and applied wisdom.
Okay, that process really clarifies things. So let's transition now to how this consistent daily reading habit becomes what the author calls the unfair advantage.
Right, because in the startup world, the tech world, you always hear talk about needing an unfair advantage, don't you?
All the time, usually proprietary tech, exclusive partnerships.
Exactly. Tangible assets. Stuff that's hard for competitors to copy, exclusive deals that lock others out, or maybe having that uniquely high-performing, almost telepathic core team that just out-executes everyone.
Those are seen as the key differentiators for success.
Yeah.
But the author argues reading is this kind of advantage only. Well, it's not dependent on luck or VC funding or a patent. It's accessible to basically anyone who chooses to do it.
Precisely. He positions reading as this often overlooked, yet universally accessible, unfair advantage. It's not about having something nobody else can get. It's about consistently and deliberately using something readily available in a deep, focused way that, frankly, most people just don't.
And he saw this play out firsthand, right? In the tech companies where he was an executive like Pivotal Software and Groupon.
Yes, he did. He notes that during his time at those companies, which went through really critical growth phases, IPOs, all that.
High pressure.
Very high pressure. He consistently observed this striking pattern. Leaders who were committed readers, who engaged with ideas beyond the immediate day-to-day fires, they just stood out.
How so?
They showed a significantly higher level of strategic thinking. They had greater self-awareness about their impact, their blind spots, and they were noticeably better prepared to anticipate, understand, and effectively tackle the complex, often unexpected challenges that come with scaling a business fast or driving disruptive innovation.
So it wasn't just about knowing more facts. It was fundamentally shaping how they thought and approached problems.
Exactly. He goes beyond just calling it an intellectual thing. He vividly describes reading as leadership conditioning.
Leadership conditioning, like physical training.
Kind of, yeah. He draws an analogy to athletes who rigorously train their bodies for peak performance. He argues that consistent, focused reading trains the mind for peak leadership performance. It's not passive intake. It's active, deliberate training for critical thinking, for developing strategic foresight, and for enhancing your capacity for effective decision-making, especially under pressure.
And part of that conditioning involves being selective about what you're reading. He mentions a curation aspect.
That's a key differentiator he highlights. Great leaders, the ones using reading this way, aren't just passively scrolling social media or consuming fleeting, surface-level stuff, the daily barrage of hot takes and news that's gone tomorrow.
Right.
They are intentional curators of their mental input. They actively seek out foundational works, the books exploring enduring principles and frameworks. He uses Clayton Christensen's The Innovator's Dilemma as a prime example.
A classic. That book really changed how people think about disruption. What's his point about choosing books like that?
He suggests you imagine dedicating, say, an hour or two consistently time you might otherwise spend scrolling transient stuff online to reading a book like The Innovator's Dilemma instead.
Right.
The return on that investment isn't just knowing about disruptive innovation, it's gaining deep strategic clarity. Understanding how established systems get vulnerable, how to recognize disruption, how to navigate it, maybe even harness it.
Insights that last.
Exactly. Insights that remain profoundly relevant, not just for a news cycle, but for decades. He contrasts that lasting value from grappling with deep principles with the ephemeral nature of chasing trends or superficial analysis. Consistent, curated reading lets you build a deep, robust understanding of complex, relevant ideas that matter long after the buzz fades.
So the unfair advantage isn't magic. It's the result of consistently feeding your mind with deep foundational knowledge and proven frameworks, actively shaping your perspective and decision-making in a way superficial info just can't. It equips you to operate differently.
Precisely. It's about building a mental model of the world, of leadership, that's resilient, adaptable, and informed by, frankly, centuries of accumulated wisdom and tested principles, not just the noise of the moment. It gives you tools to see patterns others miss and approach challenges with a much more informed, strategic view.
That flows perfectly from why reading is an advantage to thinking about what kinds of things you should read to get that advantage. As the author notes, if you're building strategic depth, not all books are equally valuable for this.
That's a crucial point, and he's pretty direct. Not all books are created equal. To really gain this specific leadership advantage, you need to be intentional about the material you choose to invest your time and energy in. He offers clear criteria for selecting books that deliver that impactful compounding return.
What criteria does he recommend focusing on?
First, prioritize books that teach fundamental principles. He gives examples like economics, psychology, history. Because they aren't tied to a specific industry's fads or the latest gadget, right? They give you a bedrock understanding of underlying systems, how markets work, why people behave certain ways, how societies evolve and repeat patterns. That foundational knowledge is relevant no matter your field tech, finance, military, whatever. It offers a timeless lens on complex human and organizational dynamics.
Grounding yourself in fundamentals.
Yeah.
Got it. Step 1. What's the second criterion?
Second, look for books that provide proven frameworks for solving business or leadership challenges.
Frameworks, okay.
Frameworks are incredibly valuable because they offer structure. They give you repeatable processes, mental models, maybe step-by-step guides for diagnosing situations, making decisions when things are uncertain, and guiding action effectively. Instead of reinventing the wheel every time, you can apply time-tested structures that have worked for others.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It's about getting a practical toolkit, not just abstract ideas. And the third criterion.
Offer long-term relevance, not fleeting buzzwords or temporary trends. This loops back to that curation idea. You're looking for insights that will still be valuable 5, 10, even 20 years from now. Not just the topic blowing up on Twitter this week. Books offering lasting strategic clarity and enduring principles build a much more robust, resilient, future-proof foundation for your leadership.
And he mentions that the successful leaders he's observed, whether in the military or tech startups, consistently invest their reading time in exactly these kinds of books.
Yes, because these are the books that genuinely shift your mindset. They don't just add data points. They actually alter how you process information, how you analyze complex situations, how you arrive at decisions. He calls it a profound multiplier effect on their leadership capabilities. They become more than the sum of their information.
All right, with those criteria in mind, the source gives us a list of specific books and authors that had a really significant impact on the author himself. This is where we get concrete examples.
Yeah, this is where we can really bring it to life. He details 12 distinct books or authors, each offering unique, impactful insights he's carried with him and applied. Let's dive into several of these to illustrate the principles we've been talking about. Maybe start with the primary leadership mentor he mentioned earlier, Dr. John C. Maxwell.
Maxwell, yeah. A giant in the leadership world. What specifically does the author pull out from Maxwell's huge body of work?
He focuses on 2 books by Maxwell. First, maybe the most famous one, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership.
Ah, yes.
The quote he pulls is classic Maxwell, hitting right at the heart of it. Leadership is not about titles, positions, or flowcharts. It is about one life influencing another.
That's incredibly foundational. What's the core message of the 21 Laws book?
The author calls it a timeless classic that systematically outlines 21 fundamental principles every leader or aspiring leader really needs to internalize to earn trust, inspire people effectively, and build lasting influence. He sees it as a clear, actionable blueprint for personal growth as a leader and for driving positive change in organizations.
And Maxwell's promise, basically, is if you apply these laws,
people will follow you. Simple but profound. He highlights a few laws as particularly impactful.
Like the law of the lid. I remember that one.
Yes, the law of the lid. It's powerful and humbling, isn't it? It says your leadership ability acts as a lid on your effectiveness and, crucially, on your team's potential.
Your growth determines their ceiling.
Exactly. If your leadership skills plateau, the growth of everything you lead hits that same limit eventually. Then there's the law of influence, reinforcing that opening quote. True leadership isn't about your title or position on the org chart.
It's earned.
It's earned through your ability to positively impact and influence others. You might have authority, but you need influence to really lead. He also mentions the law of legacy, that a leader's lasting value isn't just what they achieve while they're there.
But who comes after them?
Right. It's measured by the succession plan they build, the leaders they develop to carry on the mission after they're gone. And the source emphasizes Maxwell makes these laws really sticky and understandable, using real-life stories, actionable insights, practical applications from his decades of experience.
He also mentioned Maxwell's high road leadership.
Yeah.
That sounds especially relevant right now.
Absolutely. The source describes it as a timely and profound call to a higher standard of leadership, focusing on integrity, empathy, unity in this increasingly polarized world we're in.
Yeah.
The author notes Maxwell directly challenges leaders to resist the temptation of what he calls reactionary low-road responses, resorting to division, blame, negativity.
Instead, take the high road.
Exactly. Embrace high-road leadership, which means making the conscious, often difficult choice to act with respect, understanding, grace, focusing on building bridges, even when you're facing conflict or disagreement.
That's tough but necessary.
Very. Drawing on Maxwell's experience and deep understanding of human dynamics, the book gives actionable principles for cultivating trust, fostering positive relationships, and inspiring constructive change even amidst big challenges. The source positions it as both an essential leadership manual for today and a vital moral compass.
Okay, moving from a leadership coach to a titan of military and diplomatic leadership.
Yep.
General Colin Powell.
Yes, General Colin Powell, an iconic figure. The author mentions a personal connection here, too. Powell's book, It Worked for Me, in Life and Leadership, was apparently the first one the general signed for him back in 2015.
How cool.
Makes it a memorable source of wisdom for him. And the principle highlighted here is probably Powell's most famous quote. Perpetual optimism is a force multiplier.
That's a phrase that really resonates, especially when things are tough. What's the book itself like?
The source describes It Worked for Me as a candid, insightful, deeply personal memoir. It distills the hard-earned lessons Powell gathered over his long career from the military, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Secretary of State. The book presents his 13 rules that consistently guided him.
13 rules.
Yeah. It blends intimate, personal anecdotes, his upbringing, military service, navigating the highest levels of power with practical, actionable wisdom on things like integrity, the critical importance of preparation, leading with conviction and humility.
Are any other specific rules mentioned besides the perpetual optimism one?
Yes, beyond optimism being a force multiplier, the author also highlights Powell's very pragmatic rule. Get mad, then get over it.
Ah, I like that one.
Me too. It speaks directly to the emotional discipline needed in high-pressure leadership roles, right? Allow the frustration or anger, but process it quickly and move on. Focus on the task.
Get over it and get back to work.
Pretty much. The book is presented not just as history, but as a practical manual with timeless advice for leaders in any field, emphasizing purpose, humility, unwavering resolve, learned directly from Powell's own experience and his distilled rules.
Okay, next up is Darren Hardy, known for focusing on high achievers' predictable results.
Yes, Darren Hardy. The quote from him, the author pulls, is right in line with his core philosophy. Consistency is the key to achieving and maintaining momentum. And that's the foundation of his key book, The Compound Effect.
The compound effect, what's the central idea there?
Hardy's core argument, as the source describes it, is that achieving extraordinary success, personal, professional, leadership, whatever, usually isn't about dramatic, overnight breakthroughs or sudden luck or massive transformations.
It's the small stuff adding up.
Exactly. It's the cumulative result of small, seemingly insignificant, consistent actions and choices made daily. These small, smart choices, repeated over time with consistency, compound into massive results, like compound interest for your life.
So it's the opposite of chasing the get-rich-quick or overnight success myth.
Totally. The book provides what the source calls a clear, no-fluff formula or operating system for growth. It offers practical strategies for managing time, tracking behaviors to build awareness, building positive momentum with small wins, and strategically cutting out the bad habits that derail you.
Very practical.
Deeply rooted in Hardy's own experience in mentoring successful people, it empowers you to take ownership and unlock significant, lasting results through steady, disciplined, consistent effort, not luck or quick fixes. And that compounding principle applies powerfully to leadership skills, knowledge, influence.
Then there's a legendary motivational speaker on the list, Les Brown.
Les Brown, indeed. His quote featured is short but incredibly powerful. If you're hungry, nothing will stop you. That drive is central to his book. You've got to be hungry, the greatness within to win.
How does that hunger translate to leadership?
The source describes the book as an electrifying memoir meets manifesto that fits Les Brown's energy, right? It's basically a passionate challenge to tap into your deepest inner drive, that hunger, and pursue your vision and personal greatness with relentless determination, even when facing huge obstacles.
Drawing from his own life story?
Heavily. His remarkable journey overcoming major challenges like misdiagnosis, poverty to become world-renowned vividly illustrates how that inner hunger plus grit, resilience, self-belief can literally turn adversity into triumph. The source says it's packed with inspiring stories, practical wisdom, bold encouragement, a potent reminder that big success, impactful leadership often goes to those who just refuse to settle, who embody that quote, if you're hungry, nothing will stop you. It's about cultivating that inner fire.
We circle back now to Brian Tracy, who gave us the Invest in Yourself principle. What other books of his does the author highlight?
He lists two more. The first is Victory, applying the proven principles of military strategy to achieve greater success in your business and personal life.
Okay.
Tracy's quote with this one is another fundamental. Successful people are simply those with successful habits.
Translating military strategy to everyday life and business. That seems really relevant given the author's Navy background.
It is. The source calls this book a tactical guide designed to do exactly that. Tracy takes time-tested military strategies and principles from legends like Sun Tzu, Napoleon, Clausewitz,
The Greats.
and translates them into actionable lessons for business and personal success. The book teaches you how to set clear objectives strategically, how to concentrate your strengths for maximum impact, how to spot and seize opportunities decisively, and how to maintain discipline and composure under pressure.
Like a battle plan for life.
Pretty much. A battle-tested playbook offering practical frameworks for planning, execution, achieving success, whether you're launching a startup, leading a team, tackling a project, or even pursuing personal goals like fitness or learning.
And his other book, Eat That Frog. That's a huge one in productivity circles.
Absolutely, a classic. The source calls it a productivity powerhouse for anyone struggling with procrastination or just trying to get a handle on time.
Eat the frog. Tackle the big ugly task first, right?
That's the core idea. Simple, but incredibly effective. Tackle your biggest, most important, often most daunting or unpleasant task first thing in the day.
Get it out of the way.
Right. By completing that challenging item early, you build momentum, clear the decks, and ensure the critical work gets done before you get bogged down by less important stuff. The book expands on this, offering 21 practical, immediately usable strategies for improving focus, setting priorities, taking decisive action. It emphasizes clarity, discipline, results-oriented execution. A blueprint for boosting performance, reducing overwhelm, and getting meaningful results efficiently.
Tony Robbins is another huge name in self-improvement and personal mastery.
Yep, Tony Robbins. The quote associated with him here is, "The only limit to your impact is your imagination and commitment." That principle is central to his massive book, Awaken the Giant Within, how to take immediate control of your mental, emotional, physical, and financial destiny.
That's quite a title. What's the core ambition of that book?
Awaken the Giant Within is presented as a truly transformative guide. The scope is huge. Master yourself to master your life. Robbins pushes readers to examine and break through limiting beliefs and fears, consciously reprogram thinking patterns, and take active control over emotions, habits, finances, relationships, purpose.
How does he suggest doing that?
He draws on a wide array of psychology, neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, strategies from successful people. The book offers a comprehensive toolkit of practical exercises and techniques for creating rapid, lasting change. The core message, as the source highlights, is that the incredible power to change your life and leadership impact is within you. The book is an urgent call to tap into that potential now.
Okay, then there's Robin Sharma, known for fables like The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. Which book is on this list?
The one highlighted here is The 5 a.m. Club, Own Your Morning, Elevate Your Life. Sharma's quote captures the essence. Own your morning, elevate your life.
Is it just about waking up at 5 a.m., or is there more to it?
While the title focuses on the time, the source describes the 5 a.m. Club as a powerful parable. Sharma uses a fictional story to weave together personal development principles, neuroscience insights on optimizing brain function, and practical productivity science into a specific morning routine.
But what's the routine?
Through the character's journey, Sharma introduces his 20-20-20 formula for the first hour of the day. It involves dedicating the first 20 minutes to intense movement or exercise.
Get the blood flowing.
Right. The next 20 minutes to reflection and journaling.
Quiet time.
And the final 20 minutes to learning or growth activities like reading. The book emphasizes that adopting a deliberate, structured morning ritual like this can significantly boost creativity, sharpen focus, enhance performance, and cultivate inner peace and resilience.
So mastering the morning sets up the whole day.
That's the core message. Consciously optimizing your early hours creates a positive cascade, elevating the quality and impact of your entire day and, ultimately, your life.
Ken Blanchard and the 1 Minute Manager series. Those are fundamental in modern leadership. Which work is featured here?
Yes, Blanchard is synonymous with practical, accessible leadership frameworks. The quote the author finds impactful is, "The key to successful leadership today is influence, not authority."
Influence, not authority.
This principle is central to the book highlighted, Leadership and the 1 Minute Manager, increasing effectiveness through situational leadership too.
Situational leadership, that's about adapting your style based on the person you're leading.
Exactly. Right? The source calls this book a concise and remarkably practical guide that cuts through complexity to offer a clear method for adapting your leadership approach based specifically on the needs and developmental level of each team member.
How does it work?
Like Sharma, Blanchard uses a simple story format to introduce the situational leadership 2 model. This model teaches leaders how to diagnose an employee's competence, their skills and knowledge and commitment, their motivation and confidence for a specific task.
Diagnose first.
Right. Then, based on that diagnosis, the leader learns to apply the right mix of direction, telling them what so, and support, encouraging involving them. The core idea is powerful. Effective leadership is not one size fits all.
It demands flexibility.
Totally. Flexibility, clear communication, and a deliberate focus on empowering individuals to develop their skills and confidence, ultimately unlocking their potential. The author notes its timeless relevance across diverse settings: business, military, startups.
Okay, shifting back to the military perspective, the list includes Admiral James Stavridis.
Admiral Stavridis, yeah. Highly respected, retired 4-star Navy admiral, former NATO Supreme Allied Commander Europe.
Wow.
His quote shared is quite profound, moving beyond tactics. The essence of leadership is not giving things or even providing visions. It is offering oneself and one's spirit.
Offering oneself, that's deep. The book featured is his memoir, The Accidental Admiral, A Sailor Takes Command at NATO.
Right.
What kind of leadership lessons does that offer, especially from such a high command level?
The source describes The Accidental Admiral as an incredibly insightful and candid memoir. It chronicles his sometimes unexpected journey to the top job at NATO. It skillfully blends sharp geopolitical analysis with deeply personal reflections on leadership in action.
So strategy and personal experience.
Exactly. Stavridis gives a refreshingly candid look at modern military leadership, high-stakes diplomacy, the challenge of building and maintaining international coalitions during major global events like operations in Libya, dealing with Russia, engagements in Afghanistan.
Must have been intense.
Immense challenges and pressures leading vast multinational forces through complexity. He shares it with humility and humor. A key takeaway highlighted is the power of active listening, continuous learning even when you're the boss, and the absolute necessity of collaboration on the world stage.
So it's a leadership guide and a compelling frontline story.
Yeah, principles forged in the crucible of global command from one of the most respected military minds.
And finally, Jack Canfield, co-creator of Chicken Soup for the Soul, expert in success principles.
Yes, Jack Canfield. His quote shared is a direct call to action and resilience. Don't worry about failures. Worry about the chances you miss when you don't even try. That principle is central to his comprehensive guide, the success principles, how to get from where you are to where you want to be.
What kind of principles were in that book? It sounds pretty comprehensive.
The source calls it an empowering blueprint for personal and professional transformation, helping anyone move deliberately from their current reality toward their desired future. Drawing from decades of research, coaching, and wisdom from hundreds of successful people he's worked with, Canfield distills 67 actionable principles into one volume. These cover a huge range from taking 100% responsibility for your life, a foundational one,
Taking responsibility, key,
to visualizing goals clearly, embracing feedback, even criticism as a gift, building strong positive habits. The book's tone is motivational, but very practical, providing exercises and strategies to overcome fear, stay focused, create lasting positive change. It equips you with the mindset and the tools to reach your highest potential, whether you're starting out, recovering from failure, or aiming for a new level of leadership excellence.
That is an incredibly rich and diverse list. Yeah. Wow. It truly spans the spectrum: human dynamics, strategy, personal resilience, habits, influence, integrity. It vividly shows the breadth and depth of the author's reading journey and the kind of wisdom he values.
It does. And what's powerful is how these seemingly different books, military strategy, productivity, timeless wisdom, they all kind of converge on themes of personal responsibility, continuous growth, relationships, the power of consistent effort guided by clear principles. These are the enduring foundations he's clearly integrated.
So let's talk about the cumulative effect of all this reading, what the author calls the significant ROI of reading, the return on investment.
This is where he really drives home the tangible benefits. He emphasizes that reading consistently, especially this kind of foundational, principle-driven material, isn't just about filling your head with facts. It fundamentally transforms who you are and how you operate as a leader.
How so?
He states directly, this practice turns you into a better thinker, a better communicator, and therefore a more effective leader.
And how does that transformation show up in a leader's capabilities?
He lists several specific high-impact benefits. Reading improves clarity, helps you see situations, challenges, opportunities more sharply with less distortion.
Okay, clarity.
It significantly sharpens judgment, enabling more informed, sound, timely decisions, often under pressure.
Better judgment. Crucial.
And it expands your overall capacity to analyze complex problems and develop effective solutions. These aren't soft skills. These are critical competencies for leadership in any domain, commanding troops or leading a product team.
And he frames this not just as personal improvement, but as a real, tangible ROI for your career and impact.
Absolutely. He argues the investment needed, often just a few bucks for a book and maybe 15-30 minutes a day, yields disproportionately high dividends.
Dividends beyond just knowledge.
Yeah. They translate directly into increased opportunity in your career, greater effectiveness in your current role, and a much clearer, more compelling vision for the future, personally and professionally. He basically says it's one of the highest return investments you can make financially and in terms of leadership impact and influence.
He also specifically links being well-read to better communication skills.
He does, and it makes perfect sense, right? A leader who's consistently exposed themselves to a wide range of ideas, examples, histories, perspectives through reading just has a much richer internal library to draw from.
More tools in the toolbox.
Exactly. That depth allows them to articulate vision, explain complex ideas, communicate with far greater clarity, conviction, and persuasive power. And that ability to communicate effectively, to mobilize and inspire teams, that's often the linchpin of successful leadership.
But then he makes a really critical point. Just reading the words. That's only the beginning.
This is maybe the most vital takeaway for anyone listening who wants to apply this. The true compounding value isn't in finishing the book or checking it off a list. It's entirely dependent on what you do with the insights, principles, frameworks you gain.
Okay, so what's the process he recommends for actually leveraging what you read?
He provides a clear, actionable process for turning that passive consumption into active learning and, more importantly, into tangible leadership development. It's a cycle.
What are the steps in the cycle?
Simple but powerful. First, while reading, actively highlight what stands out. Don't just scan. Identify key ideas, principles, quotes, frameworks that resonate or challenge you.
Active highlighting. Got it.
Second, right after or soon after reading, reflect. How does this apply? How does it connect to my personal challenges, my professional goals, my team dynamics, the problems I'm facing right now? Make those connections explicit in your head or in notes.
Identify, then reflect. Next.
Third, share it. Talk about the insights with someone else, a colleague, mentor, someone you lead, even a friend. Explaining it to someone else really solidifies your own understanding, plus it spreads valuable knowledge.
Good point. And the fourth step.
Fourth, the most critical step, apply it. Take concrete action based on the learning. This is where the rubber meets the road. If a book gave you a new framework for delegation, try it with a specific task or person. If it highlighted a habit, start implementing it consistently.
Highlight, reflect, share, apply, and then just repeat that loop.
Exactly. It's designed as a continuous, virtuous loop. Learn, process, solidify, act. This transforms reading from just another task into a dynamic engine for continuous personal and leadership growth. It's the difference between just having knowledge and actually embodying wisdom.
Okay, the article then takes a slightly different but really complementary turn. Looking for wisdom in another source, timeless insights from biblical proverbs. This section is called Think on These Things.
Yes, this section deliberately broadens the idea of where valuable leadership wisdom comes from, moving beyond just modern business books to draw from deep, timeless texts. For each proverb or scripture he includes, the author provides both a specific leadership insight and a thought-provoking coaching prompt for personal application.
Let's dig into these, starting with Proverbs 4.7. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding.
The leadership insight he pulls is profound. Wisdom isn't just one useful trait. It is, like the text says, the principal thing, foundational.
Main thing.
Yeah. Your effectiveness as a leader, your ability to discern the right path, make sound decisions, provide clear direction stems directly from your committed pursuit of wisdom through both learning and experience. And he notes this wisdom doesn't just happen. It comes from intentional daily habits like reading, mentorship, prayer, reflection.
So what's the coaching prompt?
It asks, what daily habits are you actively cultivating to pursue wisdom? Where in your current leadership role or challenges do you need more understanding, not just more information? It really pushes you to distinguish between collecting data and gaining true insight.
Okay, next, Proverbs 15.22. Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed.
The insight here is the absolute necessity of seeking diverse input before big decisions. Even the best vision or plan is vulnerable to blind spots if developed in isolation.
I go it alone.
Right. Effective leaders know their limits and actively seek counsel from various experienced voices. He calls it having a personal board of directors to get different perspectives, spot pitfalls, build more resilient strategies. The prompt is direct. Who is on your personal board of directors? Before your next major decision, who could you consult to gain counsel, refine, or even challenge your approach?
Good question to ask yourself. Then there's Ecclesiastes 7.1. For wisdom is a defense as money is a defense, but the excellence of knowledge is that wisdom gives life to those who have it.
This one offers a powerful comparison. The insight highlights that while tangible resources, money, tech offer temporary defense or advantage, wisdom provides something far more enduring and vital. It gives life and security.
Life-giving.
Yeah. The author connects this to his fields, cybersecurity and military leadership. Investing in deep knowledge and wisdom isn't just staying current, it's a long-term sustainable defense strategy, ultimately more resilient than just relying on external resources that can run out or become obsolete. The prompt challenges you. How are you budgeting your most valuable resources, time and energy, to acquire this life-giving wisdom? Are you maybe trusting external resources more than the power of applied knowledge and cultivated wisdom?
Provocative. Next, Hosea 4.6. My people are destroyed from lack of knowledge. That sounds pretty stark.
It is a stark warning, and the leadership insight is equally blunt. Ignorance or lacking essential knowledge isn't neutral. It's an active liability with destructive potential, especially in fast-moving fields.
Like tech and national security.
Exactly. Staying uninformed isn't just a missed opportunity. It's a significant risk that can lead to bad outcomes for you, your team, your organization. The prompt asks pointedly, what specific area of your professional life or leadership feels most vulnerable right now due to a lack of up-to-date knowledge? What are 3 concrete sources, books, articles, courses, mentors could you commit to studying this month to actively close that gap?
Taking action to close the gap. Makes sense. Then Proverbs 29.1a, where there is no vision, the people perish.
The insight here hits a fundamental leadership responsibility. Leaders are essentially vision carriers. Vision is more than just a mission statement. It provides meaning, direction, resilience for a team, especially in tough times.
Without it, people drift.
Exactly. Teams drift, lose purpose, morale suffers or perishes. A leader's role is providing that guiding star. The prompt encourages introspection. Have you clearly articulated a compelling vision for your team's future or the project you're leading? What legacy are you actively building? And how are you intentionally inviting others to help shape and carry that vision with you? Highlighting that shared ownership is key.
Right, getting buy-in. Lastly, Big Timothy 3.162-17. All scripture is God-breathed and is useful for teaching, rebuking, correcting, and training in righteousness, so that the servant of God may be thoroughly equipped for every good work.
The leadership insight drawn here, especially given the author's personal journey, is that reading broadly and certainly specific foundational texts like scripture is fundamentally about equipping. It's not just abstract education. It's presented as a powerful, timeless tool for shaping character, refining purpose, providing correction, guiding ethical leadership.
So a source of strength and guidance?
Yeah. The source emphasizes that drawing from these deep wells provides an enduring, reliable foundation for navigating the moral and ethical complexities of leadership. The prompt encourages synthesis. How are you actively integrating timeless principles from scripture, philosophy, history into your leadership development? Thinking back over the last year, what specific scripture, book, or source of timeless wisdom most significantly influenced your leadership approach or decisions, and how?
This whole section really reinforces that core idea: continuous learning. Seeking wisdom isn't confined to one source. Building a stronger, more capable, more ethical leader involves drawing from diverse streams, including these deep, timeless texts, and actively integrating the insights.
It shows the quest for understanding and effective leadership is broad, lifelong, pulling value from all corners of human experience and wisdom.
So having explored the foundation, the unfair advantage concept, the types of books, specific examples, the ROI, and even timeless wisdom, the article wraps up with a very clear, practical call to action for everyone listening.
Yes, it takes all these big ideas and distills them into simple, manageable steps anyone can start doing today, regardless of their role or how busy they are. He presents these as the practical path to starting your own development journey and cultivating this unfair advantage.
What are those practical steps he recommends to get started?
They're designed to be straightforward, achievable, removing barriers. First, choose one book from the list we talked about, or a similar relevant book fitting those criteria, fundamentals, frameworks, long-term relevance. Just pick one to start. Don't get overwhelmed.
Or small pick one. Got it.
Exactly. Second, commit to a manageable, consistent reading habit. Just aim for 15 minutes a day. He emphasizes consistency over time is way more powerful than sporadic binges. 15 minutes can fit almost anywhere: commute, lunch, before bed.
Consistency over intensity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What about engaging with it?
Third, connect this back to that highlight, reflect, share, apply cycle. Engage actively. Keep a journal or simple notes. Jot down 3 key takeaways from your reading session each day. And, crucially, identify at least one specific action step you can take based on what you learned. Forces you to think application right away.
That seems vital, turning passive reading into active thinking and planning. 4th step.
Fourth, share your insights. Talk about what you learned or plan to apply with someone else, someone you lead, a colleague, a mentor, a friend. Sharing solidifies your learning and can inspire others too.
Reinforces it for you, benefits them, makes sense. And the final overarching step.
Commit to lifelong growth. This isn't a temporary challenge or a short project. It's about adopting a mindset and practice of continuous learning and self-improvement that serves you your whole career, your whole life. Embrace the journey.
Those steps are simple enough to start immediately, but applied consistently, powerful enough to initiate real change over time.
They are. He deliberately frames them as manageable, actionable steps to kickstart your personal development and begin building that unfair advantage. He concludes with a powerful thought. Leadership isn't static. It's actively forged day by day through learning. And in this forge, books are uniquely consistent, accessible, insightful mentors. The call is clear. Embrace them daily.
That really does bring it full circle, doesn't it? From his own commitment at 17 to a clear path forward for anyone listening now.
It crystallizes the core message. This powerful compounding advantage isn't some secret reserve for the few. It's an open door, accessible through deliberate, consistent practice seeking knowledge, engaging deeply, and actively applying what you learn to shape yourself and your impact.
Well, this deep dive has given us a really comprehensive look at the profound cumulative impact that consistent, curated reading can have on leadership and personal growth. We've drawn from the author's extensive experience bridging military command and tech leadership and explored specific wisdom from books and timeless texts he found foundational.
Yeah, from the practical wisdom of investing in yourself to concrete frameworks for influence and leading teams to timeless principles of wisdom, counsel, vision. The source material gives an incredibly rich tapestry of why and how reading, done intensely, can become your most potent, enduring tool for leadership and life. It offers not just a reason to read, but a clear framework for turning information into applied wisdom and ultimately into more effective, impactful leadership.
So here's something to maybe chew on as you go about your day, building on everything we've explored. If leadership is fundamentally forged through learning, and if books truly are among our most accessible and consistent mentors, perhaps the most powerful asset you can develop isn't something you acquire from the outside, like a new title, a bigger budget, or some cutting-edge tech, but something you cultivate deeply within yourself, intentionally, day after day. What piece of knowledge, from what sorts of wisdom, will you seek out and engage with today to actively shape the leader you are becoming tomorrow?
All right, so this is it. Thank you so much, Joe and Mary AI. So again, we talked today about the article I wrote a while back, which is about reading. So I showed you 12 books that my mentors, members of my leadership board of director, have written and think that will impact me every day, even now. Leadership mentor books, The Unfair Advantage of Daily Reading. It really gives you an unfair competitive advantage. And I'm going to go back to the quote I mentioned earlier from Papa John, right? Every day I read, I write, I think, and I ask questions and file what I've learned. Every single day. Every day. That is quite powerful. Okay? Every day. Every day I read, I write, I think, ask questions, and file what I have learned. So I'm encouraging you to do it every single day. If you have any question for me, type it in the comment. Right now, I don't see anything. I want to acknowledge Jamal Knox joining us all the way from Japan. Thank you so much for being here, Jamal. And I'm going to be back here tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. Pacific time, California, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, Washington, D.C. All right. Until next time, this is Coach BZ, and thanks again for being here with me. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Leadership and Success Podcast with your host, Coach BZ. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to our channels and come back for more wisdom nuggets on how you may develop into a better leader and achieve greater levels of success. Leadership is the most critical skill. The world will always need leaders to lead others, deploy the next disruptive technology, or execute a business strategy. You may as well decide on counting yourself among the 21st century leaders. See you right here next time on the Leadership and Success Podcast with Coach BZ.